Welcome everyone to the webinar, How to Boost Your FBA Profits. We are here in Boston, and this is Joe Doobie speaking. I am the product manager here at Teikametrics, excited to go through the presentation with you all today. And I am also joined by Kathleen Foley from the customer success team.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen on the customer success team. Looking forward to diving into some ways to help you boost your FBA profits.
So we really want to help give you guys an edge, and what we want to start with is a big data analysis. So what we've done here is looked across all of our customers, hundreds and hundreds of customers, and pulled some data year over year to see what trends we're seeing across inventory, sales, profitability, and across different types of sellers and different categories. So what we'll take a look at first is those trends by category. We'll then take a look into stockouts and inventory turns. Then the last half of the presentation will be focused on conversion rate improvement. And this is where you'll really be able to move the needle and improve your profitability by getting those extra conversions once people are landing on your page. So Kathleen will be hitting on content, pricing, and reviews. And then we'll save the last part of the webinar for Q&A. So let's hop right in. So first, we're going to hit on a big data analysis, the trends that we've seen in third-party sales on Amazon. So this slide here, what we're showing you is the percentage change year over year. So we took the first part of 2017 and compared it to the similar time period in the previous year. And this graph is showing you the percent change. So not the raw value, but rather how much has it increased or decreased year over year. And what we're seeing is that it's a great year for our sellers. So here we're seeing the largest increases in inventory value, meaning sellers are now holding on to more inventory than they did in previous years. We're also seeing everyone is selling more units. So the units sold year over year are up 46%. But we're only seeing revenue and profits up by about 25%. So that, and those are profit dollars, not the percentage. The gross margin represents the percentage. So it looks like that has the smallest increase year over year, but the units and inventory value have the largest increase. So I wanted to start off with a poll, get everyone involved here early in the presentation. So this first poll will be a question for by roughly how much did your profits grow in the last year? So we'll give everyone a few seconds, excuse me, to answer the poll. I see the answers are coming in now. Thanks for voting. And we'll let it run for a few more seconds here. All right, excellent. Kathleen, if you want to close the poll and share the results. Awesome. So what we're seeing is that around 20% weren't sure. Another 20% saw declining profits. The largest section there was in that 0 to 15% range, which is good, steady growth. And then we saw about a quarter of people also grow their profits by over 30%. So that's awesome to hear and great to see that progress on Amazon. So let's dive back in to the presentation. So here's a view of what we're seeing, change in metrics by seller type. So we've broken this out into brands, resellers, and the hybrid of both. And what we're seeing here is that you'll notice, again, this is the percent change. You'll notice that across all types of sellers, the inventory value is that number that is growing the fastest with units sold right behind. Something to note is that we're seeing that those hybrid sellers and those resellers are noticing a decline in gross margin. So this doesn't necessarily mean that they're losing money. It just means year over year, they're seeing less gross margin as a percentage, but the actual revenue, units sold, and profit dollars are up. So you're making less on every sale, but you're selling a lot more goods. So your total dollars in your pocket at the end of the year have actually been higher. So now we want to take a look at the changes in those metrics by category. So here we're seeing, this has been ranked from left to right in terms of those profit dollars, that yellow bar. And what we see here is that beauty, grocery, tools and home improvement, and Amazon fashion are those categories that we saw had the largest increase in profits year over year. And this is something that's really interesting. We pulled this data together about a month ago, and this was right as Amazon was announcing a couple of big changes. So one, they purchased Whole Foods, which speaks to the grocery category. And the other, in the fashion category, they announced a program where they are allowing, they're sending out a box of clothing where you can try it on for free and send back what you don't like. So it's interesting to see that our data aligns with where we're seeing Amazon invest and grow their platform. And here also in beauty, what we notice is that it looks really strong here from the metrics, but it's a really hard category to get right. There's a lot of patents involved. There's a lot of the barriers of entry there are a bit higher than some other categories. Another thing we noticed was that's a really interesting one here, and that caused me to really wonder what was going on is in toys and games. You see that unit sold number, that blue bar for toys and games has gone up. The gross margins have gone up, but the revenue is down and the profits are down. So that just speaks to a shift of higher priced items that are more profitable towards those lower priced items. So you're selling more items, but your revenue is down and your average sales price is down. So this is the type of data that we're collecting and looking across all of our sellers. And I think it's very interesting to take a look year over year as to what trends we're seeing in the Amazon marketplace. So now we've talked about those category and seller type breakdowns across inventory value, units, revenue, and profit dollars. Let's dive into stockouts and inventory turns. And these are areas where if you really focus, you can have a significant impact on the profitability of your business. So this first slide speaks to the supply chain complexity that we saw by seller type. So again, this is the percent change year over year. And what we're seeing is the green bar is the number of suppliers, and the purple bar there is the number of SKUs. So brands typically start off with a lower SKU count. You may launch a handful of products, maybe you have a dozen SKUs. But what we're seeing year over year is that growth is near 100%. So maybe you went from 10 to 20 products. On the reseller side, however, we're seeing a lower percentage increase in SKUs, but a lot of the time the denominator there, the baseline, is in the thousands rather than a handful. So it's a lot more difficult to be adding SKUs at that rate when you're a reseller and you have thousands of SKUs. The other key point here is that the suppliers have really grown on the reseller side. So as the competition increases more and more on Amazon, the traditional reseller has been adding suppliers more quickly than those brands. So we're seeing an over 40% year over year increase in the number of suppliers for the reseller. So here I want to dive right into our second poll, and that's how many categories on Amazon do you sell in? So are you selling in multiple categories? Are you in home improvement and fashion? Where is your focus? So we just kicked off that second poll. It'd be interesting to get a feel for where a majority of the people on the phone fit here. And we'll give it a few more seconds. All right, it looks like most people have voted.
All right, I'll close it out and then share those results.
Excellent. So this is typically what we expected to see here, where 44% are isolated to one category where you have your specialty and your product knowledge. Another 40% are 2 to 3, and then there's a smaller tail who are more diversified across multiple categories on Amazon. So in this slide, what we've done is taken a look at your average total inventory. This is pulled from May 2017 across, again, hundreds of sellers, and then added in the average estimated lost profit. So here you can see categories on the left have a higher average total inventory value, but they're on the lower side of estimated lost profit, which makes sense if they're not stocking out because they have a higher value in inventory. You'll notice some of the categories that have that higher stock out percentage or lost profit percentage are those items that tend to turn over quickly and people are consuming. So you'll see grocery there has a 41% estimated lost profit. Again, people are really buying that much more often, so you can be selling through those products as they expire much quicker, but that just speaks to the missed opportunity if you do end up selling out. And then beauty, as well as health and personal care, another couple categories where those are highly consumable products and people are buying more frequently, so you may be more at risk for selling out. And that just speaks to the opportunity of not missing out on those profits if you have a robust planning process and are forecasting your inventory and are doing your best to stay on top of your inventory turns and making sure that you're properly sending in inventory to FBA in a timely fashion. So let's talk a little bit more about inventory turns. And when I'm talking with sellers, this is the most important metric that I always go back to, because with the same amount of initial invested capital, you can create a lot more revenue and a lot more profit dollars at the end of the year if you're turning through that inventory more frequently. So what is an inventory turn? You can calculate it by taking your cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory value. Another way to think about it is if in a year you have 12 inventory turns, that means you're turning your inventory once per month. Your days of inventory is 30 days. So you have coverage for 30 days of sales at the sales rate that you're selling at, and you'll turn that inventory 12 times. If you can get an extra couple of turns in there each year, what you'll see is that you can, again, with the same amount of initial invested capital, by turning that inventory over faster, it's going to be more cash flow that you can then reinvest in the business, get more inventory and more sales. So let's take a look at comparing the out of stock percentage and the inventory turns per month by category. So you'll sort of see a trend here in that we keep calling out grocery. It's an interesting one, and you'll see that it has the highest number of inventory turns. So it's turning over inventory just between 12 and 14 times. So that's really a lot of turnover, but it also has a high out of stock percentage. So you want to avoid that out of stock percentage by staying on top of your inventory and making sure that if you do go out of stock, you're aware of it and you can try to prevent that in the future, because we've seen a lot of customers who have had a very successful product, but going out of stock really stops the momentum, and it's very difficult to climb back up in the sales rank if you end up going out of stock. Another thing to think about when you're monitoring your inventory and planning for sending in new stock to FBA is where you fit in the product life cycle. So you'll never want to just assume that you'll continue to have a flat sales rate forever. How we think about it is sort of 4 different phases, where you're introducing the product, it's then growing, you're then in that maturity or stabilization phase, and then 4th is the decline. So unfortunately, every product is going to see some sort of decline eventually. but you need to be prepared for that. So at the beginning, the challenge will be to forecast that out and order enough inventory so that you're not running out of stock. And then towards the end, as you notice that your product is maturing or declining, it's making sure that your orders take that into account so that you're not over ordering and end up with excess inventory that you then have to liquidate and take a loss on. So let's go through some action items to boost your FBA profits. So first, you want to be setting your inventory turn goal for the business. And this is really getting into the data and understanding what you're currently selling through and how often you want to be turning that over. And there's a lot of different levers that you have there on inventory turns, pricing being one of the key levers. If you wanted to speed up your velocity, you can always use that price lever to try to get more units shipped. And we'll be talking more about the ways to improve your conversion and test price later in the presentation. The next point here is to measure your turn metric across products, suppliers, and buyers. So don't just look at it as the overall business, but really hone into specific suppliers and buyers in your organization. And we typically recommend that you're incentivizing your buyers on this metric because we think it's the most important thing to look at. You then also want to be monitoring the trends and analyzing the life cycle of the product. So if you're seeing accelerated sales rate, take that into consideration when you're forecasting out the demand for your next order. If you're seeing the declining sales, take that into account as well. And the fourth point here is reduce the lead time at each step of the supply chain. So this is something that may be overlooked by a lot of sellers, but is really important because if you can shave off the time between ordering and getting it into FBA, it only helps expedite your days of inventory here. So if you can, save time at your own warehouse, measure how much the actual shipping time into Amazon takes before it's available for sale, and do anything in your power to shave that time down, you'll be able to be more lean and order more targeted amounts. And then the last piece is to negotiate with your suppliers and freight vendors. So this is another point where it's a case of, if you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. So a lot of the time we talk to sellers who are most successful, who have great relationships with their suppliers. And they can do things like, if they have excess inventory at the end of a season, they can swap that out for new inventory or return it back. They have better payment terms negotiated with their suppliers. So that's another great point of negotiation, is to say, I'm not going to pay you up front. I'm going to need 30, 60, 90 days to pay for this inventory. And that goes to improving your working capital and allows you to really stretch out the payments and put that money to work for you. So I'm now going to hand it over to Kathleen, and we're going to dive more specifically into what you can do to impact your conversion rate and help boost your profits. So I hope you found the insight across those hundreds of sellers insightful. And here's Kathleen.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That was awesome. And I think it's so valuable that we have access to data like that. And I'm glad we could share it because it is important to pay attention to the trends in the market and let that influence your business decisions. So I also want to show you how to use your own data to make business decisions. It's important to dig deeper and not only understand the data at your account level, but also view it at supplier and product level to see, how are your suppliers performing? Is there anything you can take action on to improve those relationships? Or do you want to stop carrying their products? And same thing at the product level. So you'll need to be doing that consistently, just because Joe mentioned the product life cycle, and that means just because something performed well before, there's no guarantee that that's going to continue. So you need to keep analyzing this data. And In order to ensure your full product line is profitable, you need to be sure every individual product is converting well for you. So the next thing we'll dig deeper into is increasing your sales and conversion rates. So in this section, we're going to jump into content optimization, price optimization, sponsor products, and generating reviews. Before that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Amazon's looking for when they rank your products. So there's a handful of factors, and it's not always clear what Amazon's looking exactly for, but we found that these are the main things you should focus on. Your conversion, your images, product details and descriptions, pricing and shipping, great merchandising, so the back-end keywords and categorization, and sales velocity.
Yeah, so Amazon will never release exactly what this A9 algorithm does, but we know that conversion is really king here. They're incentivized to present to the customer the item that they think they are most likely to check out. So, conversion is king, and all of these other aspects really help aid in the conversion and are important in getting your rank bumped up.
And with that being said, we wanted to do a poll and ask you, what is your conversion rate? So I'll launch that poll right now. If you could all vote, we'll give it a few minutes. Actually, no, a few seconds. All right, looks like the votes are rolling in. So I'm going to close out that poll and share the results.
This is interesting. So almost half of the audience today doesn't know what their conversion rate is. This is definitely an opportunity for everyone to dive into Seller Central, go check out the business reports, and measure where they are today. So looks like, let me pull up the next slide. So where you can find that in Seller Central is you go to reports, business reports, and then it's labeled as the unit session percentage. So that's going to be showing you the number of orders divided by the number of views that your product has. When we're asked, what typically is a good conversion rate, what we see is it ranges in the teens. The average that we see among our sellers is approximately 14 to 15%. Obviously, that's going to really vary based on the category and the price point of the item. If you're selling a more premium product at a higher price point, you may find that the conversion rate's a bit lower. On the other hand, if you're selling, a very cheap consumer staple that has high review counts and is a low priced item, you may find that conversion rate's much higher, but we typically see it in the 15% range.
Right, and a really low conversion rate obviously just means people want the type of product you're selling, and they're clicking and they're not purchasing. So we have a few things to dive into on ways to improve that. And the first one would be content optimization. And so that's going to be on-page and off-page optimization. So the on-page is obvious. It's those photos and the bullet points and descriptions that you see on the product listing page. And then the off-page are the back-end details that are going to influence the searchability. So the on-page details you want to focus on are the title of your product, the bullet points, the description, and the photography. So we do suggest that you work with maybe a freelance copywriter or product photographer. So these photos are looking professional, and you can write a really good description of your product that's efficient.
Yeah, and one thing on the images is you want to make sure you have that at least 1,000 pixel width on those, so that customers are able to zoom in on those product page images. So you want to make sure that they're high resolution and that you can allow customers to zoom in.
And I think, in my opinion, the title and the photography are going to be the two most important ways to tell the story about your product, because that's what people are going to see when they're searching for it. That's your first chance to draw someone in. So you really want to invest in that photography, invest in resources that can build strong content.
And if you think about it, if you get a 10% lift in your conversion rate, so if it goes from 10% to 11%, you'll actually get more than a 10% bump in your sales, because those incremental sales are going to positively impact your organic search rank. So, you're not only going to get the initial benefit of more sales in the short term, but you're helping the overall rank of your product. So every little thing that you can do on the product page here to help conversion rate is going to really help you accelerate sales.
Yep, and that brings us to the enhanced brand content, which is another form of the on-page optimization. So this is for sellers that have their own brand and manufacture their own product, and it enables you to modify the product description fields in your branded ASINs and describe your product features in a different way by including a unique brand story, enhanced images, and text placements. So it's open to all sellers who have been approved as brand owners through Amazon's brand registry process. So if you're already registered, this is something you should definitely take advantage of. And if you're a brand and you're not registered, it's something you want to get on right away.
Absolutely. And this was previously something only available through Vendor Central, and it was called A+ content. But now that it's opened up for Seller Central brand customers as well, it's absolutely something you should be building out, and we've seen has a proven impact on conversion rate. It just gives you that much more real estate on the Amazon product page to tell your story and show more content and really display the value proposition to your customers.
Right, and that's so important with any e-commerce selling, because you don't get the chance to talk to your customers or have them walk into your store. So this is really your canvas to present your product in a way that builds trust and makes the customer want to purchase from you. So we'll get on to some off-page details. A lot of people don't consider these to be as important, but they're huge for searchability. So you're going to want to focus on the target audience, the subject matter, what additional attributes of the product can that will catch a seller's attention, and then include the intended use. So that's going to help people get to your product if they're using drop downs or by categorizing it properly. So you want to fill out these back end details to the utmost completeness, because you never know what your customers are looking for. So if somebody's searching cart and you say carriage, you want to make sure you're including any possibilities that they might search for.
Yeah, and a lot of these fields in the back end are also, Amazon also uses them to help sellers filter down. So on the left-hand side of your search page, there's a lot of different check boxes you can go through. And by making sure that you're always filling out as all of these back-end details, it's making sure that you're showing up in the right places for those customers who are looking for those specific details on a type of product.
So the next part is the categorization. So if your product is miscategorized, it could prevent customers from finding it depending on how they searched. So in order to find out where your product listings are categorized, you can go into the inventory reports and the category listing report. And you actually need to open a case with Amazon to get access to those reports. So once you do that, they'll be available there.
Yeah, and the category listing report is something that is very valuable because it allows you to see in one spreadsheet all of those back-end fields that are listed in your products, and allows you to easily then upload changes back into Seller Central, so you don't have to go one by one and click into each product detail section through Seller Central. And we've seen a lot of success when someone was in a sports and outdoors section, or they were in a clothing section and they moved it over to sports and outdoors, for instance, if it was a sporting good item. And we've seen the sales really pick up. So the category is something that shouldn't be overlooked, and you want to make sure you're in that most relevant category to your product.
Thanks, Joe. And then the next section is regarding price optimization. So we recommend you always test and learn about what the optimal price is for you. So on to price testing. There's a few rules here. So the first one being, if this is a commodity item with premium pricing, it's not going to be successful. So if you're selling some headphones and at a premium price and you're going against Bose, which is a huge brand, you're just not going to be successful in that area.
Yeah, and another way to think about this too is that there's been a large trend for brands and third-party sellers to get off of the main product page listings and create their own private label and their own brand so that they're not directly competing for the buy box. But that doesn't mean you're not directly competing against other listings. So it's really easy for customers to price shop on Amazon, and it's so difficult to try to command a higher price if there's nothing unique or premium about your product.
Right, and when you're launching a new product, you should consider lowering your price and taking that lower margin and really investing in getting your sales rank up, and test that price as you gain traction and see how high you can go while maintaining your sales. And then as far as price testing time period, you want to let it run for at least 2 to 4 weeks so you can get a really accurate picture of what's going on.
And this is always a challenge on Amazon, is to do like a true A/B test or understand which variables are impacting your sales the most. Price definitely is that one of those larger levers that you have on Amazon. And to Kathleen's point, we recommend letting that different price run for a couple weeks before you make any decisions. Because if you're changing too many things all at once, it's going to be really difficult to isolate what exactly is impacting your sales rate.
All right, now we're going to look at generating reviews. So we would always recommend working on generating reviews. You need that social proof to help boost your conversion. So we would recommend you have an automated email order follow-up as a way of providing great customer service. And then a lot of people look at, the stars on the customer reviews, and we've found that the ideal review range is from 4 to 4.5. So if people are seeing all 5, they might not trust that those are real reviews. And if they see 3 or lower, they're going to think the product is low quality.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cheaper applications out there that help you set up an automated solution for sending out a email to all of your orders and following up and letting them know that you're available for any support if there's any issues with the order. And the key message there is to make sure that it's a transactional related email. It can't be a marketing email that you're sending out. You want to make sure you're staying within Amazon's guidelines.
Yep, so next we'll touch on sponsored products. I know we do a lot of webinars on sponsored products where we get very detailed, but let's go over some high-level ways this can help.
And one thing to add here is that now that Amazon has stopped the incentivized reviews as of last fall, so coming up on a year now, there's been a lot more interest in using sponsored products as a way to generate more sales and sort of thinking about those dollars that you previously may have allocated to giving out free product in exchange for a review, now taking those dollars and allocating them to sponsored products. And you're going to find that if you're doing it the right way, you can get a much better return by using sponsored products rather than giving away free product.
And so Joe talked about doing sponsored products the right way, so we'll dive a little bit into that. And what we found is you want to use your auto campaigns to discover long tail searches of your product. If you sell products that have a frequent repeat purchase rate, you want to tolerate a higher ACOS because you're investing in the customer and getting them to be a repeat customer. And then you want to pull your business reports and layer in your ad spend to help understand the complete picture. So you want to layer in sales for your entire account to view your advertising cost of profit rather than just your advertising cost of sales, since the goal is profitability.
Yeah, so another thing to think about here too is that complete picture of, you may be running sponsored products campaigns and have an ACOS, say, of 20%. So you're spending 20% of the sales that are directly attributed to sponsored products on that marketing, but your overall business, you may only be spending, 3 to 5%. So those sales that you're picking up through sponsored products, again, the key metric here on the A9 search algorithm is going to be conversions. So Amazon doesn't care where that conversion is coming from. If you're generating incremental conversions, that's going to be good for your overall business. So it's important to not just view sponsored products in a bubble, but understand that it's going to help benefit your organic sales as well.
Thanks, Joe. And then the last thing we were going to touch upon is the strategy we use for sponsored products. So we're using both automatic and manual campaigns, and we call it explore and exploit. So your automatic campaigns are your best source of keyword data. So you're going to use those to find the search terms that are working for you, and then move them over into manual campaigns. So those automatic campaigns should be viewed as an investment.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot of different keyword tools out there that may spit out thousands and thousands of keywords for you, but we've really found that it's not about the volume of keywords, it's about the quality and what you're bidding on them. So that's why those automatic campaigns are really going to be the best source of data for you. It's showing the actual customer search term that buyers on Amazon are entering into the search bar and end up landing on your product, and you can see how many impressions, clicks, and sales you're generating from each of those search terms. And exactly to Kathleen's point, you want to take those and really exploit them on the manual side. So as everyone knows, on the automatic campaigns, you only have a single ad group level bid. So you can't bid more or less on specific terms. So by moving them over to the manual campaigns, you can really exploit them and bid up on those terms that really convert for you, because you know that they're going to end up with a sale. So you're more willing to invest in those and make sure you're capturing the maximum number of impressions and clicks. So that was the presentation we had for everyone today. We've tried to keep it as clear and concise as possible. So we went through those trends across sellers, and then we dove right into the ways to help boost your conversion to help influence your FBA profits. So I want to see if there's any questions on the line, Kathleen.
I see a couple of good ones in here.
Awesome.
First one from Jeff. Are you aware of anywhere to add a video yet?
Yeah, so I know this is something that was available to Vendor Central customers, but I believe that we will continue to see Amazon investing in the Seller Central platform. We saw them bring over A+ content, and we have seen the headline search ads are being rolled out in beta to some customers. So in addition to the traditional sponsored products campaigns, we're seeing that headline search ad, which was previously available only in AMS. So I do imagine that in the near future, I have no insider knowledge here, but I do imagine that Amazon will make those videos available to Seller Central customers as well.
Awesome. And then Mary wanted to know, is there an optimal image size? I know at least 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, but at what point does the image size decrease load speed? And is there an optimal size?
I think as long as you're over that 1,000 by 1,000, you're good. I haven't ever heard of a case where you're really impacting the loading time on Amazon. I mean, they have quite a few servers out there.
Okay. And Robert wanted to know how much your daily budget should be when using PPC with automatic campaigns.
Yeah, great question. And this is one we get a lot. When you're first starting off, I would recommend starting with $20 a day or something in that range that you're okay with investing in that data. And then once you have built out your campaigns and you're comfortable with your ACOS, you should never be hitting your daily budget. So if you're okay with a 20% ACOS and your campaigns are running at 15%, there's never a scenario where you want to be hitting that budget, because that just means your ads are turning off in the middle of the day. So you're missing out on impressions, clicks, and sales. But yeah, at the beginning, it should be, in the $20 range to start, and then scale that up and make sure you're never bumping up against it once you've established your campaigns and are running at an ACOS that's acceptable to you.
Thanks. I think we've got time for a couple more. Tracy wanted to know, can you ask for a review in your follow-up emails?
Yeah, you can ask for a review. You just can't incentivize that review in any way. You can't be offering discounts in exchange for a review. I encourage you all to read up on the Amazon actual policy on the in Seller Central help to make sure you're not violating any of those policies.
Great. A popular question is, can we email this presentation after it's over? And just wanted to throw it out there that yes, we will be doing that.
Yeah, we'll save a replay of this presentation and send it out to everyone who joined today. So you'll be able to take a closer look into those graphs that we shared at the beginning. I know we went through that relatively quickly, and it may be helpful for you to review and see where we spotted those trends across different categories.
Okay.
Awesome. So to wrap up, we have another upcoming webinar in a couple weeks on August 23rd, and that one will be focused more on funding your brand on Amazon, and we're doing that in partnership with Payability. So that should be a really good and informative webinar. I encourage you all to sign up for that one. And then there is also at any time you can sign up for a one-on-one demo of our sponsored products optimization software. So this is something that we've rolled out towards the beginning of this year, and we've been very successful in signing up customers, and we offer a one-on-one demo. So it's completely risk-free. You can talk to one of our specialists and actually see your data live on the call. Let me add that link here to add it to the chat. Give me 1 second. So it's sellers.teikametrics.com/setup/schedule. So that link just got sent over through the chat in the GoToWebinar control panel. So be sure to check that out if you want to see what the Sponsored Products Optimizer can do for you. And we hope to see you all soon on our next webinar, August 23rd. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.